Good evening, everyone. Chuck is off tonight. He was a cop mistaken for a criminal.
And tonight, the city mourns the friendly fire death of a rookie officer. The shooting of Officer Omar Edwards at the hands of Officer Andrew Dunton is the focus of a new investigation, a probe that's raising some serious questions of racism. We have team coverage. We begin with Paisley Chang live in East Harlem, where it all went down 24 hours ago. Paisley?
And Sue, it was around this time last night that Officer Edwards left work. He had taken off his uniform and changed into street clothes. He had also taken off his bulletproof vest. After all, he was on his way home to be with his family. How could he have possibly known that just a few hundred feet away, he would need that bulletproof vest to protect himself from the gun of a fellow officer? Flowers and bunting grace the front of the Housing Bureau station at which Officer Omar Edwards worked. The young officer was gunned down in a violent confrontation just as he was leaving work.
All we can say at this point is that he was there protecting the rest of us. We will find out what happened, and our prayers are with the family.
It was around 10:30 at night. Edwards was walking to his car when he saw someone, now identified as Miguel Santiago, breaking into it. Detectives say Edwards moved to confront Santiago and grabbed him, but Santiago got free by wriggling out of his shirt.
We believe that at this point, Officer Edwards, with his gun drawn, chased the individual north on. We believe that at this point, Officer Edwards, with his gun drawn, chased the individual north on 2nd Avenue to 125th Street and east on 125th Street towards 1st Avenue.
At that exact moment, an unmarked car with plainclothes officers was across the street, who saw a man being chased by another man with a gun. Wearing their badges, police say the officers got out of the car and identified themselves. But detectives say Edwards turned with the gun in his hand, and one officer fired 6 times from his 9mm gun, striking Edwards twice.
My heart dropped. I just said no. I didn't want to believe it because I just felt that this guy was a real good guy, that this shouldn't have happened to him.
On the social networking site Facebook, there are already tributes to Edwards. His friends say even in high school, Edwards talked about being a police officer. In this time of extreme grief, Edwards' father shared some fond memories of his son.
He was a wonderful, wonderful child. For me, he was small. For me, he was a baby. He was wonderful.
Edwards leaves behind his wife and their 2 young children. Reverend Al Sharpton has already called for a federal investigation into this shooting death. And tomorrow morning, he and other community leaders and activists will hold a vigil at the very spot where Officer Edwards was killed. Live from East Harlem tonight, Paisley Chang, News 4 New York.
Paisley, thank you. We also have a few details about the officer that fired the deadly shots. As you heard, his name is Officer Andrew Dunton. He's seen here in his high school yearbook picture. Dunton is 30 years old. He's been on the force for 4.5 years. Today, the officer's parents, Tom and Fran Dunton, did not have any comments for reporters as Suffolk County Police escorted them from their home in Medford. Neighbors, though, had nothing but good things to say about Officer Dunton.
He's the best. If this really happened, trust me when I say he thought he was doing the best for the citizens of the city. He's a really, really good guy. As honest and as nice as they come.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He was a good boy all these years that I know.
And so once again, both officers were relatively new to the force. 2 years for Officer Edwards. Officer Dunton has been with the NYPD for 4.5. And like Edwards, Officer Dunton was recently married.
With 15 feet separating them, did Officer Dunton fear he was in a kill or be killed situation when he opened fire on Edwards? What do police guidelines say? Jonathan Deeds continues our coverage with more on those questions.
Back in 1994, the shooting of Officer Desmond Robinson by Peter Del Debbio led to cries of reform and improved training within the NYPD. State Senator Eric Adams once ran the activist group 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement.
Because if you ignore the fact that we have racial predispositions, then you are not going to train a proper police officer how to police in that environment.
Other recent cases of friendly fire have taken place where the races of the officers were the same. The Bronx White Castle shooting in 2006 involved Hispanic officers. And in Reddington, New Jersey, an FBI agent accidentally shot and killed another. Both were white. In this case, Edmonds in plainclothes was chasing a suspect with gun drawn when he encountered the plainclothes officers. Police say he was ordered to freeze, but investigators say he was turning towards the officers when one opened fire. NYPD guidelines remind off-duty officers when confronted by fellow cops, do not turn body, especially if holding a firearm. Pat Donnelly is a longtime firearms instructor.
He just got off of a shift. He's a police officer. He's doing what he's been trained to do. Unfortunately, it appears that he didn't follow proper protocol in this situation, and it unfortunately cost him his life.
In this case, officials stress the investigation is just getting started. Jonathan Dienst, News 4 New York.
Our coverage of this friendly fire death continues online. You can learn more about the timeline of events and the investigation on NBCNewYork.com.
New at 11 tonight, some chilling video of an armed robbery in the Bronx. It shows two men holding up a deli on Forest Avenue in Morrisania last Saturday. And as you can see, the pair walk in, pull out a gun, and demand money. Last Saturday, and as you can see, the pair walk in, pull out a gun, and demand money. One of the suspects then reaches over the counter and takes everything in the register. No one was hurt.
Several soldiers who